Hello everyone, Fowler here. So I know I've been saying this again and again, but we are working on a new site, and I'm hoping we'll get it out in like the next week or two. I know some people out in the community are already sharing one of the links to the site right now, even though it's unfinished. If you guys really are so inclined, I could probably give the link to you guys if you ask below. Although if you're active in the community, you've probably already seen it. So I guess you can consider that sort of like a 0.9 version of the site. We have a couple bugs to iron out still. If you have seen the site, you will know that. And there's actually a bit of info that we have like written down in our spreadsheet, but we don't display it on the site yet. So that's pretty much what we've been working on. But anyway, the bottom line is that hopefully we'll get like the actual 1.0 version of the site out in the next week or two. But until then, I want to make a quick video here talking about something that just happened on the global server, and something I actually didn't even notice about this patch cycle until people started pointing it out. So those of you who follow the schedule know that the banners that we got today, the equipment banner and the King of the Red Moon Destiny banner, are not the banners we were quote-unquote supposed to get based on what they did on the Chinese server. And I guess just as a quick side note, my advice is to not pull on this equipment banner because I feel like it's only really beneficial to whales. The only really good piece of it is the accessory, and it's only for one character. And for Rosen, the meditation ring really isn't all that different from this accessory. So you can afford to not spend crystals on it, especially with what I'm about to talk about. So like I said, the banners that came out today were quote-unquote supposed to come out 3 weeks from now. 3 weeks into the SP Lana patch, which is the patch that was known to have no new characters and instead ran a like that Build-A-Bear banner where you get to choose 2 characters up to Toa and Patsir. So basically right now there are some people who are thinking that there is a possibility that they will just skip this patch altogether and jump straight to the Wetham, Werner, and Mariendel patch, in other words the Wikigrisser 3.0 patch, and they're probably going to time it to come out on Christmas. And currently there are a couple things that support this assumption. So the first piece of supporting evidence is of course the fact that they've moved this equipment banner that we have right now up from when it was supposed to come. I mean, this isn't completely out of the norm, they have moved banners around before. A second piece of evidence is the Echo of Light dates that we have in the game right now. I actually didn't notice this until people started pointing it out to me because I usually don't check this. Because I personally spend an average about $10 a month on this game, so I never really pay attention to the Echo of Light, but if you'll notice, the Echo of Light this time is a 5-week cycle. Now this has happened before on the Chinese server for a various number of reasons, but it almost never happens on global. In fact, many times when there's a 5-week cycle in China, when it comes to global, they instead just get rid of that 5th week so that we can stick to the 4-week patch cycle that they typically have. I think this is the first time we have gotten a 5-week patch cycle on global that was not on the Chinese server. And it just so happens that they lined it up such that the week that they skip allows them to get to Christmas as the next major patch, which of course is usually a pretty smart marketing decision when you are talking about marketing to Western markets, because Christmas is usually the biggest holiday. Although the point against them is usually that Zalone for global doesn't seem to make these kinds of decisions that often. They seem to settle into being very hands-off with how they handle the patches. Still, it's kind of a strange anomaly. And now we have the third point in favor of this theory. So I was talking with Aniril, who is another strategy squad member, and she kind of encouraged me to go check out the data mine for a global version, and I found some kind of interesting things. So to give a very simple background, on global, usually when they patch the game, they actually patch 2 months worth of data into the game at once, which is once again what they did this time. And they did include a lot of the data that is supposed to be included with the SP Lana patch, with the previous patch, or with the patch version we're on, which is the Alpha plus Transcendent patch. And as you can see here, there's some kind of weird things going on here. So the equipment banner, of course, is translated. The King of the Red Moon banner is translated because that's what we got today. But, as you can see here, the Sissy White and Akka banner is not translated. This is an all-new banner that was supposed to come during the SP Lana patch cycle, and this one just so happens to not be translated. You'll also notice that the Echo of Lights that were supposed to come with the SP Lana patch cycle, which is the musician skins for Lana and Leon, are not translated. Basically, this entire Echo of Light banner is not translated, even though usually it would be. And of course, there's also this work in progress banner here that, it doesn't matter. I mean, this was actually a placeholder graphic for the Gintama collab that never happened. RIP in peace, Gintama collab. But I mean, the point is that they kind of imported the same files that the Chinese version used, and they made sure to translate the ones that they would use for the global version, as they usually would. But for some reason, this time, they left several ones untranslated, and they just so happen to be the ones that are meant for the SP Lana patch, except for the ones that we just so happen to get today, which is the new equipment banner and the Lord of Crimzo Destiny banner. There is one more banner that they did translate that we have not gotten yet, and that is the Macho Lotto that includes one of Werner's new skins. But remember that we still have a 5th week to the patch cycle that we haven't gotten to yet, so something to think about. Now, some of you might be wondering about some of the other banners that was going to run during the SP Lana patch cycle, as to, are those translated or not? And that's actually completely irrelevant, because all of those other banners are ones that have been run multiple times. For example, the Lucia Knight of Mystery and Gerald and Layla banner, that is a repeated Destiny banner, so it doesn't matter if that's already translated. Same thing with Layden, Altamiller plus Rachel. That is a banner that gets run multiple times. In fact, even the Secret Realm event that ran during the SP Lana patch was a rerun of the anniversary event from the first year. Now, even with all this info in favor of maybe the fact that they might be skipping a patch, I don't want you to assume that it's going to happen, because there's still a lot of things that kind of work against that assumption. First of all, even without having new characters in the SP Lana patch, combining these two patches into one huge patch is just a really, really big patch, and there's no real reason for them to do that if they can drag it out and make a bunch of money over 2 months instead of just stuffing it all into 1 month. Of course, some people can argue that having one big patch on Christmas is a nice marketing thing. But once again, as I mentioned before, a lot of times the loan doesn't seem to have that sort of savviness when it comes to the global version, so it would be breaking precedence in quite a way. Another thing worth noting is that the Taiwan version did in fact get the SP Lana patch cycle. They didn't get to skip over it. Usually the Taiwan version is a pretty good indication of what every other server is going to get, except for maybe Japan. Japan's the only server that gets really special offers a lot of the time, and even then they're not that interesting. It's usually just a couple unique skins or something. So I want to finish this off by talking about some of the implications it would have if they actually did this. First of all, obviously all of you who have been saving up for Wetham and Werner are going to have to suffer because they're coming sooner. The second point is that I think this is pretty huge. It's the fact that right now, when characters come out on global, we just so happen to get them around the same time that China server would be getting them on Destiny banners or a rerun banner, in which case we can use that to plan around whether or not we want to pull for them on this newly introduced character banner. If they do this thing where they skip SP Lana's patch entirely and just merge the two patches together, that means they're bumping us ahead a month, which means that we will no longer be able to take global patches that are coming to us and then figure out, just take this coming patch for example. If we get Werner and Mariandel on Christmas week, what that means is that it will be too early for us to know whether or not Werner or Mariandel are going to be rerun for us about 4 or 5 months from now. And of course, there is the point that, they're going to be skipping over a number of banners that people might have been waiting for. For example, the Gerald and Layla banner, I think there are a number of newer players who really want that still because they need Gerald and Layla to bond Tiaras, who is a very key PvE character. And of course, the build-up banner, that was really important for new players as well, or anybody who's missing a very key bond character. That would have been a really nice opportunity for you to pick them up. If they skip both of those, then that is obviously really bad for new players as well. So even though it might seem exciting on the surface to skip over the SP Lana banner, it's actually overall, I would actually consider it more detrimental to the player base than it would be beneficial. But anyway, with all that being said, we're gonna know in a week or two. So just something to think about a bit while we're moving into the holidays. Anyway, that's all I gotta say for now. See you guys later.